Yo. So I've been experimenting on a new deck. I've been bored playing all these linear decks that don't really take much thought process. I'm talking about just one deck, actually, the Panam and Jackie Wellis deck. That deck is frustratingly boring, and it's frustrating to go against. I understand it's the best card in the game, best deck in the game. But why does the best deck in the game have to require little to no skill? It's because there's only 56 cards. And cards are likely to change at the end of whatever this time period is called. Testing phase. Anyways, I wanted to create a deck that was engaging. When I say engaging, I meant requires you, the player, and the cards to be involved by taking action in response and actually being involved in decision making and planning and a little bit of gig manipulation with you and the enemy. I think that's pretty fun. So the goal here is with this 30 card, 2 blue, 1 ram deck. The goal here is to place engines, place card draw engines. Card draw engines are cards that you place down early and they pay off in the long run because they do something. They have like some kind of passive ability or they do something every turn. Those are engines. Your engines are Jackie Wellis, Evelyn Parker, and Zetatech Faceplate. Those are your 3 engines. And additionally, with these engines, one of these, Jackie Wellis and Zetatech Faceplate, these create a great synergy because anytime you proc Zetatech, you increase a gig by 1 or down 1. But in this case with Jackie Wellis, actually no, if a gig is actually down by is actually maxed out, it would be preferable if you bring a gig down once to proc Jackie Wellis to hold on. Let me rephrase this. I'll slow it down a little bit. Zetatech will proc trigger, aka trigger. When Zetatech Faceplate triggers, I'll even open it up. It allows you to increase or decrease a gig up to or down to 1. And if you have 3 different value gigs, control 3 different value gigs, you draw a card. This is really good because Jackie Wellis, anytime you play a blue gear or a blue unit, and it allows Jackie Wellis to increase a gig by 2, and if it maxes out from that increase of 2, it draws an additional card. But let's say a gig is already maxed out, then Zetatech Faceplate would actually be good to bring a gig down by 1, because if you bring a gig down by 1, then you can have that buffer zone to trigger Jackie Wellis. That's kind of what I was saying. But anyways, up by 1, down by 1, good synergy with Jackie Wellis in all situations. Now, with those 3 engines, you have 2 deck thinners. You have Hanako, Arasaka, Viktor, Vektor. So, Viktor, Vektor, why him over Dum Dum? There's a lot of personal opinions, but for me, it's because every time I would flip my first legend, I would always draw Dum Dum. That's just how good my RNG is, I guess. It was frustrating. So I swapped him out for Viktor, Vektor. And another thing I don't like about Dum Dum is you always have to, in the back of your mind, think about triggering his ability. So not only are you trying to figure all these moves out against your opponent, but you're also trying to find a way to trigger his ability, which I think is another unnecessary obstacle. I think Vektor is better if you have a lot of gear, and especially since you have a lot of gear, you're guaranteed to get gear. I always pretty much get 2 gear every time I flip him, so I think he works perfectly and better in this case. And I already have a bunch of card draw, so I don't need Dum Dum in this deck at all. And why Hanako Arasaka? Well, I was going to run T-Bug, but after some matches with T-Bug, she would pretty much get deleted by all these Royces, all these Gilded Matons, and I would always have like some kind of gear on this T-Bug, and I thought it was just a waste. Just a waste. So I ended up removing T-Bug and then increasing my Placides to 2 Placides. There's another problem I ran into doing that. I would brick, and when I say brick, I would have 2 Placides in my hand from all this thinning, all this card draw, and I couldn't do anything with it, so I ended up just using a hand space that it could have been for something else, but I can't use it on anything else because a Placide is occupying it. So I brought Placide, I brought Placide down to 1, and then that's when I put in a Hanako Arasaka, which I think is better because she does even more additional thinning. And since this deck is all about tempo control, if you are playing it correctly, you will gain a lead or just a slight lead, which gives you a chance to put in Hanako. I think she works well in this case. All right. Now, this is all early game still. You got your engines, you got your thinnings. First thing you want to do is put down Evelyn Parker. After you put down Evelyn Parker, you are going to get a response from your opponent. It's going to be a blocker. It's always going to be usually a blocker. When your opponent puts down a blocker, you have multiple ways to get around it. You have Dying Knight, Zetatech Faceplate, and you're even able to play Gilded Matón if you have a Kiroshi Optics in hand on that second turn as well. Actually, no, wait, he's 4 RAM. Never mind. That'd be on the next turn. But if you do have to decide between a Dying Knight and Zetatech, I would highly recommend putting down a Dying Knight on your Evelyn Parker because the Zetatech, for me, I think it's better as used on a legend in the Eddy Zone as a infinite engine per se and immune engine, unless they also have Dying Knight. Dying Knight can get rid of the gear, but if it's in the Eddy Zone, it's always guaranteed to trigger. So I always try to put my Zetatech in the Eddy Zone when I can. So Dying Knight gets rid of the blocker. And if you, once you do that, you want to be able to play Delamain Cab as soon as possible. Delamain Cab is a great card because he is cheap and he is powerful. I always use Delamain Cab in blue decks. I actually ran this deck a little bit with Flathead, but the reason I removed Flathead, and by the way, if you're using Flathead, you're a Sigma and you're muscular. The reason I removed Flathead is because he is too expensive for what he does, and he doesn't make a good composition for this deck. I already have a lot of removals. I have a bunch of blocker removals. I have a bunch of light unit removals, and I have a lot of ways to fight and attack and defeat other units using my units. So I think with the answers I already have, I don't need a unit that needs to get around blockers that I basically can already get rid of, right? So I don't think he's useful in my deck. Plus, if you look at Flathead, Flathead's power is 5. He can easily get discarded with the popular red card, which is Armored Minotaur. He is right here. Armored Minotaur will defeat a card with 5 or less power if they got 12 or more street credit, which everyone has been using because they're trying to gain tempo over this fast, I guess you could say, fast meta. So that's why I don't use him, is because he basically immediately gets wiped from Armored Minotaur. Plus, the flathead does not go well against Caliber. Caliber is this yellow card everyone uses as well. This guy right there doesn't defeat Caliber, but Delamain does. That's why I put Delamain in my deck. And then that's mid game. Mid game is Delamain, and then mid late game is you want to be working your way to winning. So this is where you can make a decision. You can decide if you want to drop your V. V is this card right here, and just finish the game. Or if you want to hold off on V and save her as an Eddie, that is up to you. If you think you can squeak out the win, then do it. But the reason you might want to hold V actually brings me up to my next topic, is facing certain colored RAM. So now let's talk about RAM colors. Let's say you're going against a yellow RAM, right? A yellow RAM. Yellow RAM has Jackie Wellis, and it likely a Panam. So if you think Jackie Wellis is going to swing in, let's say, 2 turns from now or in the future, whatever, it might be a good idea to actually hold off on V if you're not going to be able to get a win within those turns, because you might want to save Placide for Jackie Wellis. Just a little tip is, might not want to use her if you think a Jackie Wellis is coming up. Another way, if you're going against a yellow deck, is you want to make sure you prioritize gig control early, because if you can prioritize gig control early, then you're able to at least get Jackie Wellis weaker when he drops on the field, because he gets stronger depending on how much gig control he has. Also, once you have gig control, you want to make sure you're playing the stalling game and tempo game. So get rid of all the units that you can. Try to get rid of any sitting gear that's sitting on Panam. A lot of the times people won't float gear on Panam because they know they got you, that you're running a Dying Knight. But if by chance somebody is floating a gear on Panam, try to get rid of that with Dying Knight so they don't double attack on you. Basically stall it out slowly, and then if you can just get ahead slightly, that's when you freeze using Chrome Reverie. Freeze that Jackie Wellis and just ride it out, ride out the wind. Hold your gigs. And Chrome Reverie is this card right here. It basically freezes your opponent, one of your opponent's units. So that's how you go against a yellow deck. Now let's say you're going against a red deck. If you're going against a red deck, similar starting style, you want to start out stealing gigs ASAP, because a red deck, what they do is they evolve around gig control and gig power. So let's look at some of the red cards. So Armor Minotaur. If you have 12 or more street credit, we were just looking at this card, by the way. 12 or more street credit, then you defeat a rival with 5 or less power. This is why if you can get gig control early, attack early, and take their gigs early, then you're slowing their Armored Minotaur down and potentially stopping them from playing it, which is good. Additionally, it also it also nerfs Royce's ability because by default, Royce's ability can only destroy a unit with 2 or less power. But if the opponent has more street credit than you, then they're actually able to destroy a unit with 3 or less power. So let's say you do have more gig control than your opponent. That's when you would probably want to drop like a secondhand Bombus and then stack a Dying Knight on there or a Zetatech to make it a 4 power. And with that 4 power, it makes it immune to Royce because you have gig control, so they can't do anything about it. Just ways like that are a good way to control the board, maintain your board presence to win the game. Now, let's move on to green. If you're going against green is a super easy deck to go against because all you're doing is you're just playing like you're usually playing. Basically, don't try to don't play too tall. Actually, you could play tall because unless they got a blue, don't play tall. But if they don't have a blue, they're running like a green, red, or green, yellow, then you're actually good to play tall. But when I say tall, I mean tall is when you put a bunch of stuff on a single unit to make them strong. Wide is when you have a bunch of spam. When you're going against a green unit that is probably playing a 2 green, 1 red, 2 green, 1 yellow, then I would say you're good to go tall because they don't have any responses to that. Also, Floor It is a great card against green because green cards prioritize on 4 RAM. Let's look at it right now. Emergency Atlas, 4 RAM. Goro Takamura, 4 RAM. These cards are primarily played in green decks along with this Sandivistan because they want to try to steal 2 gigs off on round 3, on turn 3, on their turn 3. So that's why it's really good to have Floor in hand. If you're going against a green card, definitely try to mulligan until you get a Floor in hand because you're going to be using that a lot against green cards. I would say green is definitely the easiest deck to go against when it comes to this deck. Now, let's say you're going against a blue deck, the last color, blue, the manly color. I would say definitely don't play tall because they're going to have a Floor that can take care of any of your opponents besides Placide with Floor. Definitely play wide, spam a lot. I would definitely try to hold your Floor until they play something along the lines of their Delamain if they have one. A lot of people are playing blue right now. They're playing with the new chick. I think her name's like Maman. Let's see. Yeah, they're playing. Everyone's right now is trying to test this card out. So a lot of program decks that are floating around right now. Program decks are definitely going to be trying to prioritize removal. So just keep that in mind. And that man, I don't know how to say that damn card. It's a terrible card because you're, at least with the cards that we have right now, because you're basically wiping your whole hand. You're asking to get top decked because you just gave up a lot of your eddies. And it's very, I don't know how I feel about that card right now. It's the only strong, quick answer to Jackie Willis, so I don't blame people for trying. Anyways, that's how you play this deck. If you guys want to try it out, I am going to export the code and put it in the description. Well, thank you guys. Hope you guys enjoy.